Hello, I am back with another glute focused leg day. So first exercise that I'm going to do is the barbell squats. This is the weight that I have put that onto the barbell. You can use any weight that might suit you. This barbell squat is one of most effective lower body strength exercises which targets your quads, glutes, your hamstrings, your core muscles and your adductors simultaneously. So position the barbell across your upper back or your traps or your rear delts. Stand with feet about shoulder width apart. Brace your core and keep your chest up. Sit your hip back and bend your knees. At the same time, lower until your thighs are at least parallel to the floor. Drive through your midfoot and heels to stand back up. The common mistakes that are done while you perform this barbell squat is that your knees are collapsing inward, you're rounding the lower back, you're rising onto the toes and looking excessively up or down, using more weight than you can control. So just use the weight that you can control effectively. The next exercise is one of my favorites, and that is the barbell RDLs. These are the hip hinge exercises that emphasize the posterior chain, especially hamstring and glutes. So the muscles worked are hamstrings, glutes, lower back, core, forearm, and your grip, upper back to stabilize the bar. Now how to perform it? Stand with your feet hip width apart, holding the barbell in front of your thighs with an overhead grip. Keep a slight bend in your knees throughout the movement. Brace your core and keep your back neutral. Push your hips backward by sliding the bar down to your thighs. Lower the bar until you feel a strong stretch in your hamstring, usually just below the knees to mid-shin, depending on your mobility. Drive your hip forward to return to the starting position, squeezing your glute at the top. So here I'm going to increase the weight. What should you do while you perform this exercise is you have to keep the bar close to your legs. Hinge at the hips rather than squatting down. Maintain a neutral spine, do not round your back, and keep your shoulders pulled back and lats engaged. Move slowly and under control, especially on the way down. Please avoid these common mistakes. Rounding the lower back, letting the bar drift away from the body, bending the knees too much, just as you are doing squats, lowering further than your mobility allows you to do, hyperextending your back at the top. Usually I do 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 6 reps for my strength, and for the muscle growth it takes 6 to 10 reps based on your endurance and your mobility. The next exercise is one of my favorite exercises, and this is one of the best exercises for building glute strength and muscles while also improving hip extension power. The muscle worked here are glutes, hamstring, adductors, core and quads to a lesser extent when you are not doing it correctly. You have to sit on the floor with your upper back against a sturdy bench. Here I am using this box. Roll the barbell over your hips and use a pad if needed for comfort. So I am also using a pad here. Plant your feet about shoulder width apart with knees bent. Brace your core and drive through your heels. Lift your hips until your body forms a straight line from your shoulder to your knees. Squeeze your glutes harder at the top for 1 to 2 seconds. Lower your hip under control while they are just above the floor, then repeat. Use that weight which you can easily control for the better reps, rather than using higher weights which you cannot control better. I usually do 8 to 10 reps or 10 to 12 reps for my first set. You can do according to your strength and your weight selection. So here I'm going to increase the weight because I know that I can control that weight better. So the total weight here is 170 kg including the barbell. My typical sets and reps are included the strength training with 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 6 reps, and for muscle growth 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps, and muscle endurance 2 to 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps. So why you should include the hip thrust? They are complementing squats and Romanian deadlifts well. When you do squats, more quad focused. When you do RDLs, they emphasize the hammies and your glutes throughout a hip hinge. When you are doing hip thrust, they are maximizing glute activation in the shortened position and are excellent for glute hypertrophy and hip extension strength. You should avoid this common mistake while hyperextending the lower back, feet too close, letting the knees cave inward, using momentum instead of controlled reps, not reaching full hip extension. The next exercise is weighted glute bridges. I like to do it after hip thrust just to complement it and give it an insane pump after you do the hip thrusts. It targets the glute through hip extension, and it is similar to a hip thrust, but because your upper back stays on the floor instead of a bench, it has a shorter range of motion and it primarily targets your upper glute, helping to give it a rounder shape. Lie on your back with your knees bent and feet flat on the floor. Roll a padded barbell over your hips, brace your core and keep your ribs down. Drive through your heel and lift your hips until your shoulder, hips and knees form a straight line. Squeeze your glutes at the top for 1 to 2 seconds. Lower your hips under control and repetitive movement. Keep your chin slightly tucked, push through your heels. Keep your knees tracking over your toes. Avoid arcing your lower back at the Focus on glute contraction rather than lifting the bar as high as possible. And at the end, I'm going to hold it for 10 seconds, just giving myself a crispy and the punchy pump after the hip thrusts. I usually do 2 to 3 sets depending on how many sets that I have done on the hip thrust. If I have done 3 sets of hip thrust, then I will be doing 2 sets of glute bridges. Today's last exercise that I am going to do is hip abduction, that is leaning forward. It is also isolation exercise that targets your outer glutes. Leaning your torso forward during the movement shifts more emphasis onto the glute muscle, especially the gluteus maximus, compared with the sitting fully upright. Just avoid sitting fully upright. So gluteus medius, gluteus minimus and gluteus maximus, all muscles are working here. Sit in the hip abduction machine. Lean your torso forward with 20 to 45 degrees while keeping your back neutral. Brace your core and hold the handles. Push your knees outward as far as you can without using momentum. Pause for 1 to 2 seconds at the end of the movement, squeezing your glutes. Return slowly and under controlled motion. Control both the outward and return phases. Keep constant tension on the muscle. Avoid letting the weight stack slam down. Focus on feeling your glute working rather than moving as much weight as possible. I'm doing 3 sets of abduction of both kinds. I'm going to finish this hip abduction with the leaning backward position as well. Going to target your outer thighs as well and your outer hips, giving it a more rounder shape. So if you want a more rounder shape, just use these both. The gluteus medius are the primarily activating here, and the gluteus minimus as well. Sit in the hip abduction machines. Lean your upper body back against the backrest. Brace your core and grip the handles. Push your knees outward in a controlled motion. Pause briefly at the widest comfortable position. Slowly return to the starting position without letting the weight stack rest. Keep your hips in contact with the seat. Move through a comfortable range of motion. Avoid using momentum. So I'm going to do here my second set. If you want to increase the weight, you can do it, but the weight is more comfortable for me. So avoid these mistakes using excessive weight that limits your range of motion. Bouncing the weights and letting your knees snap back together. That was all for today. You can subscribe and like my channel. See you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.